Just 1 minute, Vimoh. I'll just give me 2 minutes. So I'll just lay out the different darshanas in a very brief way. So when last time I said that Astika and Nastika
Neo
corresponds
Charvak,
to belief in the
what are
Vedas.
we talking about? What are we talking about today? First say that and then proceed. Because otherwise I don't know where you're going and why you're going there. What
Yeah,
is the
it's a
goal of the
continuation of
what is
previous
the argument you're here to present?
to establish the philosophical relevance of Hindu atheism.
Okay, go on.
All right. So last time when I mean, I should have laid out that Nastikas were people who didn't believe in the Vedas, Astikas were people who believed in the Vedas, and then
You
and I
did. You
couldn't I
did.
couldn't complete it.
You did. You did. You did
No,
point
and
this
then you
out, and I
asked
do remember.
no, but you asked me a question that would suggest that you didn't exactly let because you asked me, do the Vedas suggest that there is an existence of God or not? Because that would like you asking that question would suggest that you ignore the Nastika part of it, right?
No, my asking that question meant that if Nastika means you do not believe in the Vedas, and Astika means you
Yeah,
do believe in the Vedas, then
right.
the Vedas contain atheistic as well as theistic thoughts, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So where do you
Yeah,
stand
sure.
after you say that you do not believe in the Vedas? Because you have accepted and rejected both.
I personally reject the Vedas. I'm saying it is possible for somebody to still accept them and still be an atheist. I'll explain. Okay, one more thing. I'll just explain how Vedanta is
If
the
a
mainstream school of
person
thought.
accepts the Vedas, are they a Nastic?
No, they are not a Gnostic in the old classical Sanskrit definition of Gnostic, but they are a Gnostic in the
Okay.
modern Hindi and other contemporary languages definition of Gnostic.
Okay. So would you be okay if we just avoided the confusion by saying that if someone is rejecting the Vedas, they're an atheist?
Could you repeat that?
If you reject the Vedas, you are an atheist?
It depends, right? You could be a Nastika in the classical version and still believe in God because there are some
See,
Buddhist
that is
sects
the
and some Jain
confusion
sects
I'm
who believe
trying
in
to
God.
avoid,
Yeah, yeah,
because if you use
yeah.
words and phrases that were relevant to the conversation thousands of years ago, you're missing out on a huge part of the discourse. The word we use today
Oh
for
yeah.
all of
I,
that
I just
is atheist. Just use
right, right.
atheist. Why do you need to start
Yeah,
calling
I just
yourself
need to.
Sanskrit names?
I'll just clarify one thing. Like you asked me why Advaita is atheistic or why how could one could be an atheist under Advaita and so on, right?
Hmm.
I mean, Advaita, one of the basic principles of Advaita is that everything is Maya, including the universe, including everything, including all people, including the Devatas, right?
Define Maya.
Advaita literally claims
Define Maya.
illusion, illusion, not real.
That doesn't really tell me much, because you can literally say that about the universe in multiple contexts. Is there any physical claim about the universe being made? Are you saying that matter does not exist?
I am not saying that, but an Advaitin would say
Advaita says that matter does not exist.
that. Okay, so the Vedas do. Okay, so it's a little more
Why can't
complicated
you
than that,
just
right?
why can't you just answer my questions? Every time I ask you something, you start on something else. You said that
Because Hinduism
Advaita.
is very diverse and nuanced. Because Hinduism is
What?
very diverse and nuanced. Because Hinduism is very
I
diverse
get
and
that,
nuanced.
but I'm trying to reduce. I'm trying to narrow down so that we can have an actual
All right.
conversation. Hinduism can
Okay, fine.
remain
I'll
nuanced.
answer that
Nobody is
question.
questioning the nuanced nature of Hinduism. I'm saying if you
Both the
say that,
Vedas and the Upanishads make two claims. Both the Vedas and the Upanishads make two claims: the existence of the five Panchabhutas, which is essentially matter, and they also make the claim that there is something beyond the five Panchabhutas, and the five Panchabhutas
then what
aren't
is this?
really,
What is the
they're
conclusion?
not
If they
real.
say that matter exists and they say that matter does not exist, then what is the conclusion?
Right. Actually, Vimoh, that is also the modern scientific understanding of matter, right? Like if you narrow down, everything is basically, I mean, string theory isn't conclusive, but most scientists do agree that everything is quantum fluctuations at the end of the day, right? If you if
Yeah,
you if
but
you narrow down,
none of them say that matter does not exist, right?
it depends on your frame of reference, right? It depends on your frame of reference.
Neo Charvak, we are not going to be able to have a conversation if every word you say or I say leads to a it depends on how you define it. I'm trying to
All
narrow
right,
down the
so
scope so we can actually talk about something instead of just floating
that's
around in
fine.
definitions.
No, but my point is exactly to do that. My point is exactly to bring about a diverse range of ways in which somebody could be a Hindu atheist without any discrepancy in terms of philosophical. Like, that's the entire point, right? I'm trying to lay out
But
multiple
everything
ways
you have said
in
so
which
far
one
is
could
a
be a Hindu.
discrepancy. Everything
I
you have
mean,
said
yeah,
so far is
that
a
is that is the point of
discrepancy. Every
philosophy.
time I point out that it's a
Philosophy never reaches.
discrepancy, you say it's very nuanced. What am I going to do with this?
All right, fine. So, I mean, I gave you multiple ways. One can believe in the Vedas, not believe in God. One can not believe in the Vedas and still believe in God. There are many ways in which one can be a Hindu atheist.
And
Fine,
that's a
let's move past that.
discrepancy. And that's a discrepancy.
All right. So what does that?
unless
What does
unless
that mean?
unless you attach yourself strongly to one point, we are not going
All
to be
right.
able to have a conversation, because everything you have said is ये भी हो सकता है, वो भी
That
हो
is
सकता है, that is also possible, this is also possible. ऐसे में बातचीत कैसे करेंगे?
all right. I'll stick to my stance then. I personally
Yeah,
believe in the
do that.
ontological existence
state
of
your
matter
stance
of the
state
universe.
your stance as clearly as possible, and then we can start talking. Go on.
All right. I believe in the ontological existence of matter and reality. I do not believe in Shankaracharya's view of the world. I believe in
Okay.
metaphysics, which is extremely materialistic. I do not believe there's anything beyond that. So I am a Charvaka. Okay. So one of your the most liked comment under the clip of our previous discussion was Hindu atheism is an oxymoron, right? And even you seem to have liked that. I'll
I
just
I
and
did I like it? I don't know. I think Charvak, what's his name? I think Charvak Lokayat also said that in today's chat. Let us not focus on what
right,
someone else said about your position. Just focus on your
right.
position.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and during the discussion, you also said that I was exercising cultural appropriation by being a Charvak, right?
Hmm.
Do you still stick to that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the thing is, it is not tied to an
May
ethnicity.
I
It is
point
not
may I
mandatory
point out
practice.
why? May I point out why? For those who
Sure,
have not seen our previous conversation, you say that you're a
sure.
Charvak, but your worldview is much more than the Charvak worldview, because, to the best of our knowledge, the Charvak did not accept anything, any other praman than direct perception. Is your worldview
I
limited to
agree.
direct perception?
No, no. I do
Then
believe in
you're not a
inference
Charvak.
and also to some degree. No, that's the thing.
Sorry,
So there is always additions and improvements to previous philosophies. See, are you a Marxist? Vimoh?
sorry.
Are you a Marxist?
I'm a Marxist. No,
So you're a socialist or something of that sort, right?
socialist. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Where does that come from?
What does that have to do with our conversation about atheism?
I mean, I'm just trying to say that basically there is every philosophy that one could possibly have right now has an origin, and then there are improvements, and then there are multiple improvements successively, which leads to a more contemporary version of it, or it might die out. There are multiple ways in which ideas can
Yeah,
survive,
but we are still,
right?
listen, we are still talking, right? We're using language, and words have meanings. The word charvak meant a very specific kind of philosophy back in the day. You don't have that philosophy, and yet you're using that word to describe yourself. That is what I mean by
I
appropriating.
I I do because it's the closest to my beliefs rather than
No,
any
the
other
closest one
philosophy
is
that
just
exists.
plain old. The closest one is just plain old atheism. You're a child of the 21st century. You live in today's world. All your education has come to you,
Oh,
at least partially, from Western sources. Your worldview, which is materialistic, as you yourself said, is based on a whole host of readings that you have done from Western authors, I'm assuming.
yeah, I'll just make one
Yeah,
small
then is
correction
it
when you
not
said
safe to say, is it not safe to say
just
that
one
your
correction, Vimoh.
worldview,
It's not
is it not safe to, please
right.
let me finish. Is it not safe to say
Sure.
then that your worldview has more in common with present day atheists than it did with materialists in India who lived 3,000 years ago or so or something, uh, whose worldview did not include inference and Anuman and all those other things?
I'm saying it does not matter. So I'm saying it does not matter
It
because
matters.
obviously,
Obviously, it matters. If I'm going to talk to you about a tomato and you are talking about, listen, can I give you an example? It'll take a little bit of time.
sure, sure, sure.
The Odia word for
Yeah, I've heard.
tomato, The Odia word for tomato is bilati baigona, which is
Mhm.
translated as vilayati bangan. That's because the
Oh,
Portuguese brought tomatoes to Odisha a few centuries ago,
okay.
and back then we used to just
And they're
call
in the
it
same
bangan.
family. They're in the same
Sorry,
biological family. I forgot.
I'm talking
They're in
about
the same
words.
biological
Let me
family.
finish, then you
Yeah,
will
yeah.
understand my point. Don't jump the gun.
Sure, sure, sure. Right, right.
If you and I were having a conversation today and I said bangan khane ka man kar raha hai, and you think that I'm talking about a thing that was called a bangan 500 years ago, then we are not talking about the same thing, right? If I am using the word charvak, I want it to be used to denote what charvak actually were. If you just pick up the word charvak and start using it despite not having that much in common with them, simply because you have some kind of cultural loyalty to India and you want to use a label from ancient India, then that's not an actual conversation we are having. We are talking about two different things, and you are for some reason unwilling to help clear out the confusion. No, I will keep using the word from 3000 years ago because I like it.
I mean, it's precisely to clear up that confusion that I call myself a neo-Charvak, right? Because I do understand that there are several understandings of the entire universe and so on that we have come across ever since the Charvaks have, I wouldn't
I
say
thought,
extinct, but ever since we
okay,
have seen
so
the last great.
okay, so cool, cool, cool. I'm okay with that. I thought New Charvak was just your
Right.
channel name.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, let's get to that later. I was inspired to make the channel after talking to you, but yeah,
No,
sure,
no,
I'll
I'm
ask
not.
you about
I'm
that.
not going to promote your channel.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking. You told me
right.
that you've started a channel. You sent me an email. Sorry, I could not reply. I
Yeah, yeah,
don't reply because there is a lot of email. But
sure,
my
sure.
point is,
Can we compliment it there?
in a debate with someone about
Yeah,
atheism, will you be able to say you are a neo Charvak? If neo
I
Charvak is not a
can.
thing that already exists, but you invented it, then why not just call yourself an atheist? It makes for much
I
less
mean, there are
confusion, right?
new
Instead of
there are
inventing
new
a new
things of
name
all
for
kinds, right?
yourself,
There are
sorry,
neo-fascists, neo-conservatives, neo-Marxists, all sorts of neo people, right? It's not ideas don't stagnate. Ideas improve and they self-correct or they
how many other neo Charvaks do you know? People who call themselves neo Charvak.
maybe not of that exact label, but I know people, for example, Kushal Mehra, who I
He calls
share a
himself
lot
a Charvak. He does
overlap
not
of
say
world.
neo Charvak. He says Charvak.
Right. Yeah, my
And I already
worldview has a
pointed
lot of
out why the
overlap.
label Charvak is not applicable.
I mean, okay, okay, can you exactly tell me why it's cultural appropriation though? Because it's not tied to an ethnicity, it's not a hereditary practice, it's not any of that, right? And also Charvak is,
Because in
let's
addition
forget
to
about what
calling
I
yourself
identify
Charvak, you're
myself.
also calling yourself an Hindu atheist. Hindu is a more
Okay, let's
contemporary
leave that aside
religious
for a moment.
label. Neo Charvak, if you ask me a
Okay,
question, please wait and hear my answer. You
sure,
keep
sure, sure.
talking no matter what happens. Just give me a minute.
I'm sorry.
Cool?
Right. No, I just wanted to say that I have no particular affinity with the word Hindu atheist. I asked you why Charvak is a
Your
cultural
channel
appropriation. That
bio
is what I asked.
says that this channel is devoted to finding out what Hindu atheism is, and the channel is called Neo Charvak. Is there a linkage?
Sure.
Huh?
Um, it's fine. It's not
What?
about that, Vimoh. It's not about that. I asked you how it's cultural appropriation because whenever we
I
usually use the term, it
listen. You
refers to.
asked me how it is cultural appropriation. I started by pointing out it is cultural appropriation if you call it Hindu atheism, and then you said I don't call it Hindu atheism, and then I said you do call yourself Hindu atheism because it's in your channel bio, and now you're saying no, no. I asked you how it is not cultural appropriation. I don't want to go in circles all over again. Are you? If you
I mean,
say right now that you are not going to call yourself a Hindu atheist, we don't have a debate. It's okay.
I I, I do call
We're
myself
cool.
I do call myself Hindu atheist because my identity lies at the intersection of those two identities. That is my reason.
Yeah, so you call yourself a Hindu atheist and you also call yourself a
Right.
Charvak, thereby creating a correlation or at least a linkage. And then you ask me how it is not cultural appropriation. Charvak were not Hindu. You taking them and adding them into the Hindu fold willy nilly for no reason is cultural appropriation.
Yeah, last time when we had a conversation, you told me that Hinduism it is a very specific thing, and the government has its own conception of it. That was what you said, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
when I
yeah.
gave a different definition for Hinduism. Yeah, so the definition of Hindu according to the Constitution, according to Article 25 2b, there are
Hmm.
specific conditions, right? First one is a Hindu is anyone who belongs to Vaishnava, Lingayat, or the followers of Brahmo Samaj or Arya Samaj. The second point
Hmm.
is anybody who's a Buddhist, Jain, or Sikh by religion. Third point is any other person domiciled in the territories to which this act extends, who is not a Muslim, not a Christian, Parsi, Jew by religion, unless it is proved that any other person would have not been. Okay, so basically, a Hindu is anybody except Hindu, Parsi, Jew, and Christian, right? So that is what a Hindu is. So
So
according to your
Buddhists,
own definition of
Buddhists, so
Hindus,
Buddhists are Hindus,
they are a heretical form of Hinduism, just like Charvaks, just like Jains, just
but
like a lot
Buddhists are
of other.
Hindus.
Yeah, according to the Constitution of India.
Yes, the Buddhists don't like it. The Buddhists disagree with it. They don't like being called Hindu. Nor do Sikhs, by the way.
That is a different debate, right? I mean, so they are. It is literally in the.
I'm telling you
You
that
told me
I'm
that not
I'm
every.
telling you the source of my definitions. I'm telling you that if you go out and ask someone if what their religion is, they will say Hindu. The Constitution's definition is not the common definition. It is somewhat more esoteric, and it has to do with certain other reasons that I don't want to get into. But the common definition of a word is what we should use when we are having a conversation about common reality. Because if you and I are having a conversation about tomatoes, then we use the word as most people understand it. We say tomato, and most people understand tomato. So when I say Hindu, when most people say Hindu, they mean a religion that is distinct from Buddhism, Sikhism, Christianity, and Islam. I do not subscribe to the view that the word Hindu should be used as a marker for any identity, as if it is some kind of default which everyone resets to in the absence of any cultural identity. I think we already have a cultural identity. It is Indian. Hindu is just the
I
name
mean,
of a religion.
I only brought that up. I only brought that up because last time you told me that your definition of Hinduism is the one that the government has, right? You said I gave a particular definition of Hinduism. I'm not
No,
sure
I
what it
meant
was, and then you
government
said,
forms. I meant government forms. Sarkari forms, when you have to take which religion you are. In the list of religions, there is Hindu, right?
hmm,
In
okay,
that list, there is also Buddhist and Sikh, right?
right,
If the government thought that Hindu, Buddhist, and Sikh are the same thing, then why would there be three options? That's what I was referring to.
hmm,
Common everyday practice.
right.
Yeah.
Um, I just have one question for you, Vimoh. Why do you think there are so few atheists in India? Why do you think there are so few identifiable atheists in people who identify themselves as atheists in India?
I don't know,
It's
man.
basically in the few
It's
hundreds,
possible that many of
thousands.
them are uh, maybe some of them call themselves Hindu atheists like you, and when the form is in front of them and there's a identity called Hindu and then there's an identity called atheist, they just impulsively choose Hindu because it feels more at home for them. I don't think atheist as an identity. Is there an option, by the way? I'm just asking, is there an option in
I
the
mean, there is
government
an option.
forms,
Yeah,
which is what?
yeah.
None of the above?
When I was asked to fill out, I mean, I'm not sure about government forms, but when I was asked to fill out certain college forms, there were all sorts of options for college applications and so on. But I
Was one of
also
them
hit
atheist?
Hindu. Yes,
Was
there
one of
was,
them
and
atheist?
you hit.
Okay.
Yes, there was. And you hit the
Hmm.
nail on the head, Vimoh, that there are multiple Hindu atheists who are atheists in any definition of the term, but they still identify as Hindu. You're exactly right. You got
Hmm.
the prognosis right. The thing is,
Hmm.
it is okay. So in India, in Hinduism there is a theological thing called Adhikara Beda, right? It basically translates to anybody who's theological acceptance basically. All in very simple layman terms, all ways lead to God or all religions lead to God or whatever, right? So, I mean, that is one of the principal this thing. So basically, a Hindu is anybody who does not call himself by any other label and exclude himself from the rest of society. So
Hmm.
I'll just end my thing with this. I am a Hindu atheist because Hindu society doesn't ostracize me or does not say that I am not one of their own. If they did that,
You don't
then I
need.
would not. Then I would
See,
be an atheist.
I clarified this in my video. The reason I don't feel it necessary to call myself a Hindu atheist is because I don't need permission from Hindu society to be an atheist.
Permission to be Hindu atheist among the Hindu society. That's the thing.
I
To
don't
be
need
a
it.
to
I
be
don't need it. They can keep it. I am an
no. The thing
atheist
is,
and I have the
yeah.
right to be an atheist. That right has been granted to me by the Constitution of India. Nobody needs the permission of Hindu society to be an atheist. You
No,
are a
I
Hindu.
meant, I didn't mean it like
You are
that.
a Hindu who feels grateful towards his own religion. That's none of my problem. Feel grateful. But I don't need the permission of Hindu society to be an atheist.
Sure, Vimoh.